Deathwatch is a unique and specially trained Space Marine chapter that dedicates its every hour to hunting aliens. Known as the shield that slays, they are the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Xenos, charged with protecting it in its search of information, containment, and ultimate destruction of all xeno species. Consisting of battle brothers drawn from many chapters, the Deathwatch operates from watch fortresses and watch stations across the whole of the Imperium. Rather than following the standard Codex Astartes organization, the Space Marines themselves are drawn from many different chapters. These chapters have sworn sacred oaths to raise a unit of Space Marines specifically for this task. The warriors are then gathered together to fight where and when they are needed. Giant fortresses orbit desolate worlds at the edge of the galaxy, keeping constant vigil over possible Xenos forces. There are also several secret bases spread throughout the Imperium, which provide a launch site for their crusades. These bases are referred to as watch fortresses and watch stations. Due to its vast mission, the Deathwatch is scattered across the galaxy in these installations, the largest of which is Talassa Prime. Until the formation of the Great Rift, Talassa Prime was also the primary training station of the Deathwatch, but the dangerous travel from Imperium Nihilis has seen this disrupted. It is said that within Imperium Nihilis, such duties now fall to Fort Excalibris and Prefects Venatoris. Each watch fortress is a sovereign domain, standing sentinel over an area of the Imperium, each having its number of watch stations. The structure of most watch fortresses is identical, with ultimate responsibilities falling to a watch commander who is supported by a strategic council of watch captains and lieutenants. Each watch fortress has its own librarius, apothecarium, armory, and reclusium. The watch fortress commander is the highest level of command within the Deathwatch. No single chapter master exists due to the vastness of their missions and deployments. However, initially during the War of the Beast, the Deathwatch did have a chapter master. The Deathwatch is highly integrated with the Ordo Xenos of the Inquisition, acting as its Chamber Militant and frequently working alongside its Inquisitors. The warriors who fight are given the honor of painting their armor black to show their service to the Emperor, while leaving one shoulder pad with the original insignia of the chapter from which the Marine came. Although most of the armor is painted black, it is never entirely painted black, as this action would dishonor the armor's machine spirit. They also are equipped with a new shoulder pad with the symbol of Deathwatch on their other side. Once in the employ of the Deathwatch, there is no set length of time for service. Rather, it is as long as the commander deems necessary. Each Space Marine may serve a discrete amount of time or for the duration of a mission, which may be many years. Once the mission is complete, the Space Marine is allowed to return to his chapter under an oath of silence as their duty has been fulfilled. How long a Space Marine is part of the Deathwatch varies greatly. It can last a single mission, decades, or even centuries. His length of service depends on a number of factors, not least of which are the immediate needs of his watch fortress. The orders of the Deathwatch are not merely the cleansing of Xenos cultures. They also include the recovery and study of alien devices and artifacts. Sometimes it is necessary to use a weapon against the enemy who created it, although this is not taken lightly. The Deathwatch is constantly vigilant for sabotage or to advise if it is truly safe to use a weapon of Xenos origin. The Adeptus Mechanicus is always on the lookout for alien technology. The Catan Phase sword, used by the Kalidas assassins, was recovered from a Necron tomb world and successfully integrated into the arsenal of the Imperium. Usually, a Deathwatch team is led by an Inquisitor, but in extreme circumstances, A Deathwatch captain or librarian may take command of the unit. Their word is law and can requisition anything they desire to complete their objective. They are the best armed and trained units in the Imperium. They might be deployed in areas where conventional methods are insufficient, or if the troops available are not properly equipped or trained for the task. The presence of a Deathwatch team is always welcomed, even though they are feared by all those who know of them. Each watch fortress typically has 5 watch companies, each of which is headed by a watch captain. Most watch companies are smaller than their Codex Astartes equivalents and usually comprise no more than 50 battle brothers. Each watch company is then further divided into kill teams, specialized combat units consisting of Marines from various chapters. The formations of these teams are extremely flexible and dependent upon their specific mission. No 2 kill teams are ever the same, with one comprising veterans wearing Terminator armor, while another may field bikers and jump pack-equipped infantry. The seeds of the Deathwatch were first sown during the War of the Beast, when a mighty war boss, known only as the Beast, nearly destroyed the Imperium. During the war, Corland, Lord Commander of the Imperium and Chapter Master of the Imperial Fists, realized that small kill teams of Astartes were required to eliminate the Beast and key strategic assets. Needing experience and knowing that no new foundings could be created in such a short time, the recruits were to be drawn from a multitude of existing chapters. Despite the reluctance of the High Lords of Terror to approve the creation of this force, desperation forced their hand. The original recruits were drawn from units of survivors of Corland's invasion of Ulanor, which saw heavy Astartes losses. Thus, standing in vigil of their fallen brothers, the Deathwatch came to be. Their first mission was to eliminate the Orc attack moon plaguing Terra. Shortly before the second invasion of Ulanor to try and slay the Beast, Corland reached a power-sharing agreement with Inquisitorial Representative Vinand to try and avert a crisis with the suspicious High Lords of Terror. It was agreed that the Deathwatch would fall under the purview of the Inquisition, but that a Space Marine would serve as a chapter master. The first chapter, master of the Deathwatch, known as the Watch Commander, was Asger Warfist. The Mantis Warriors chapter were once second only to the Crimson Fists in the amount of recruits sent into service in the Deathwatch. However, after the Badab War, the chapter would not be requested to join the Deathwatch's ranks due to the Inquisition's view of the Mantis Warriors' heresy during that conflict. This would last for nearly 100 years until Librarian Shaden, Sergeant Sauron, and Brother Ruinus were seconded to Inquisitor Calypsia's Deathwatch kill team. However, the Mantis Warriors were not full-fledged members, merely filling in for the losses the kill team sustained in a Tyranid ambush on Herodian 4. In particular, the 3 members kept their chapter colors during this mission and wore no iconography of the Inquisition or the Deathwatch. The Deathwatch has 6 notable tactical deployments over its long history, developed with experience from its wars against Xenos. These tactical methods are taught at every watch fortress and are used to determine the composition and armament of kill teams. The first is Aquila tactics. These are generalist, versatile tactics. These are used when the exact nature of an enemy force is unknown, either because of a simple lack of opportunity to gather information on an opponent, or because the Deathwatch is facing a newly discovered species or variety of xenos. The second is Dominatus tactics. These are designed to directly combat the most elite warriors of a Xenos enemy, aiming to deny them a crucial battlefield resource by slaying their veterans and specialists. Third is Führer tactics. These involve the delivery of explosive firepower across a wide frontage. By concentrating on tightly packed hordes of their foes, the corpses of the enemy slow the advances of those behind. They were developed by Squad Viridium during the War of the Beast to combat hordes of orcs, but have since been applied as anti-swarm tactics against many foes, most notably the Tyranids. Fourth is Malleus tactics, which were first used by Captain Brontos on Rakor 9 against the Tyranids. Malleus tactics involve using land raiders to claim larger enemies before using power weapons to engage them in close combat. Typically performed by veterans, these rapid assault tactics can prove more effective than conventional assaults. Fifth is Purgatus tactics. These were developed by the librarian Del Athiu and involved the application of utmost force on the leadership figures in alien hordes. This is often used on enemy forces with tight chains of command, a venerated leader, or a biological imperative towards commanders. Killing a Tyranid synapse creature, Tau Ethereal, or alien demagogue often proves a particularly effective manner of defeating a force. Finally, Venator tactics were created by Jargon Khan to fight witch cults. Venator tactics involve using bikes and other fast units to engage in long-running battles, leading their fire, anchored by heavier units that hold at a particular location. The enemy is eventually struck by an encirclement maneuver that swings back to surround them. Deathwatch members have access to a range of specialist equipment, such as the Stalker bolt gun, and variant bolter ammunition, such as Inferno bolts, cryo shells, Kraken penetrator rounds, Metal Storm frag shells, and Stalker silence shells. Their devastating array of weaponry includes carapace-shredding shotgun shells known as xenospurges and grenades containing chemically altered promethium, ammunition canisters of phasic plasma, and amplifiers that saturate grav fields with warped ions are among their most closely guarded secrets. Their molecular realignment fields of xenophase blades in particular arouse interest in the most radical Xenorite cults of tech priests. Their technology is not only designed to kill, but also includes archaeotech to disrupt alien mechanisms such as Orc engines and Eldar psychomaterials. The Deathwatch is freed from the usual technological dogma that plagues the Imperium, and their arsenal also consists of vast amounts of Xenos technology. Their war gear is highly specialized and reflects the varied requirements of their mission and the vast array of potential threats. Development of weapons often includes apothecaries, who specialize in analyzing maximum bio damage to enemy Xenos. Their equipment is produced by specifically vetted tech priests sworn to secrecy and regularly put under hypnotherapy to allow for maximum discretion. The most widely used aircraft by the Deathwatch is the chapter-exclusive Corvus Blackstar. The Ordo Xenos recruits decorated veterans of the Imperial Navy to pilot these Deathwatch aircraft the Ordo possesses. This is due to the Ordo Xenos deeming the Deathwatch to be too important to be left in their aircraft's cockpits instead of carrying out the Ordo's missions. The Imperial Navy veterans are lured into serving the Ordo Xenos with the promise of piloting unparalleled aircraft, the use of technological resources, and attaining honor and glory. Those that accept the offer are then heavily modified and permanently fused into the aircraft so that they become the machine's living brains. The result is highly effective, as the aircraft become the pilot's bodies and will respond to their thoughts, in much the same way as power armor responds to space marines. As a result, the pilot and the machine spirit of the aircraft become closely interlinked, allowing the aircraft to perform maneuvers so advanced that all but Eldari aces are left in wake. Some members of the Deathwatch do not approve of this, however, as they feel humans piloting Space Marine aircraft is unheard of. The Deathwatch operates its fleet, and most notable of these ships are kill ships, specialized bombardment craft to enact exterminatus upon worlds lost to the Imperium. The Deathwatch often deploys from inquisitorial black ships for planetary strike operations. Thank you for listening to this entry from the Warhammer 40,000 Lexicanum.